morning. Well, I have to tell you that the sight from where I am right now is one of the most beautiful things I've seen in quite a long time. And it started, yes, please. It was a little over a year ago that the Arizona chapter of Conscious Capitalism was notified that we would have the opportunity to host the 2019 annual conference, the largest gathering of conscious capitalists that come together at any time during the year. And what an honor it has been to have all of you in our backyard. And in my backyard, I literally live about 10 minutes from here. So this is a dream come true. And over the last 2.5 days, we've heard some amazing stories of organizations here in Arizona and organizations from around the world. And these stories have all revolved around this model of conscious capitalism, this model of higher purpose, this model of conscious culture, this model of conscious leadership, and this model of stakeholder orientation. And what's interesting to me, and through the experiences I've had, the stakeholder orientation tenet, the principle, is the one that is likely the thorniest. When you really get into it, to meet the needs and create value for all stakeholders that every single organization needs, relies upon in order for it to deliver the type of impact that it intends to deliver. This is the one that I think it's the toughest. And as we were gearing up for the conference and knowing we would have this opportunity, there was a stakeholder story that we were just hoping would actually come together. And that's the story we're about to share with you now. It's a story of a cast of characters, 2 neighboring states, and a business coming together to create shared value for everybody. And I am just on cloud 9 right now, and hopefully I can stay there for a little while to share with you this story about stakeholder orientation. So I'd like to bring up here this cast of characters that is joining me was originally a cast of 3 characters. And for those of you that don't know me well, music is a big part of my life, and I tend to think in terms of bands for some reason. So we were going to have Peter, Paul, and Mary up here, for those of you that are familiar with Peter, Paul, and Mary. But unfortunately, Governor Claudia Pavlovich, the governor of the state of Sonora, for unexpected reasons, was unable to travel and can't be with us today and sends her regrets. So we've gone from Peter, Paul, and Mary to Simon and Garfunkel. And I'm going to allow our panelists here to determine which one's going to be Paul Simon and which one's going to be Art Garfunkel. I don't think they'll be breaking out into song. But it is my honor to welcome to the stage Governor Doug Doucey. Governor Doug Doucey was elected back in 2015 as the 23rd governor of this great state of Arizona. And he ran on a platform of increasing opportunity for all Arizonans. And underpinning that was this idea that growing the economy is the most important thing that he can do. Prior to serving as governor of this great state, Governor Doucey was the Arizona State Treasurer, and prior to that, he was the CEO and chairman of Cold Stone Creamery. Governor Doucey, thank you for being with us.
Welcome. Thank you. Thanks for having me. Thank you. Thanks.
Our second panelist is Peter Rawlinson. Peter Rawlinson, up until Monday, was the Chief Technology Officer of Lucid Motors, an electric vehicle manufacturer. And on Tuesday, Peter was given the nod to not only be the Chief Technology Officer, he is now the Chief Executive Officer and Chief Technology Officer of Lucid Motors. And so I think the secret here is if you let your board of directors know that you're coming to a conscious capitalism event, you immediately get promoted from CTO to CTO and CEO. Prior to Peter, his role as CEO and CTO of Lucid, Peter has brought with him 30 years of experience in vehicle manufacturing. He had spent time as the Vice President of Engineering and the Chief Engineer of the Tesla Model S prior to joining Lucid. So, ladies and gentlemen, a warm welcome for Peter Rawlinson and Governor Doug Doucey. Good morning, guys.
Morning. How are you, Brian?
I'm doing great. How are you?
You got a note here.
Oh, I have a note. Okay, thank you. Have you guys decided who's going to be Paul Simon and who's going to be Art Garfunkel?
He's the singer. He's got the talent.
So I want to start with actually a few key facts about the two states that were responsible for this amazing story, and of course, Lucid Motors. And I want to begin with Lucid Motors, just to give a little context to everybody. So Lucid Motors is an electric vehicle startup from California, Silicon Valley, that is developing pure electric luxury cars. And in 2016, you announced that you were building your manufacturing plant in Casa Grande, Arizona, which will employ up to 2,000 workers by the mid-2020s and grow capacity from an initial 20,000 up to 130,000 cars per year in that time. The state of Arizona, where we are all sitting today, about 7 million residents, the fourth highest overall population growth in the nation, ranks third in the nation for economic momentum, is projected to add about 166,000 jobs by the end of 2020. And in addition to Lucid, we were the proud recipients of another organization called Nikola Motor Company, and they are creating a hydrogen electric semi-truck manufacturing facility here in Arizona, which is just fantastic. And last but not least, the state of Sonora, the second largest state in Mexico with a population of approximately 2.5 million people. Let's give it up for the state of Sonora.
Yeah.
Absolutely. They accelerated their economy in the mid-1990s through a focus on assembly production plants, producing goods for organizations like Ford and Sara Lee. Have a very thriving automotive industry. In fact, Mexico is the world's fourth largest exporter for the automotive industry and is home to more than 40 companies in the Tier 1 and Tier 2 automotive supply chain. So just a little bit of context about Lucid Motors, the state of Arizona, and of course the state of Sonora. So Governor Doucey, I'd like to begin with you. For those of us who live here, it is no surprise that you have come into office with this unbelievably strong business bias. And obviously, I think a lot of that dates to your strong history of corporate leadership. And since your first term, over 300,000 jobs have been created. We're number 3 in the nation in economic momentum, as I shared. And, I'm going to go out on a limb and say I'm going to call us the most business-friendly state out there right now.
I'll take it.
For sure.
I'll
Yes,
take
absolutely.
it.
So, yes. So from the beginning, this relationship with Sonora is something that has been a top priority for you. Tell us about it.
So, Brian, let me start by saying first, thank you for having me here. I love what you're doing. I love what you're talking about. I love the examples that I'll be able to share in the real world, not only from my business perspective, but what I've been able to do in public life. And I grew up in Toledo, Ohio. My dad was a cop. I didn't have any political background or resume. I came to Arizona, got my education, started my business, and was able to scale it. Cold Stone started here, but we grew to 1,440 stores in all 50 states. I sold in 2007. Today it operates in 31 countries around the world. So I've seen how different markets do business. And I thought we just had a great product in Arizona. We had a great, welcoming, inviting place. I don't know that was our reputation around the country or around the world. Mexico was our #1 trading partner, ×4. It wasn't even close. And we hadn't had a chief executive, a governor, that had been to Mexico City in over a decade. So my first trip upon election was to Mexico City. My first trip upon re-election was to Mexico City. When Governor Claudia Pavlovich was elected in Sonora, that's our sister state, Of course, I attended her inauguration. We built a wonderful relationship. So I'm thrilled to be here today. Anything to get out of the state capitol. I'm much more comfortable talking to this day. I'm getting into my second term. I'm much more comfortable talking to business people than I am talking to state legislators. I know what motivates and incentivizes a decision maker. Sometimes in politics, there's cross purposes. So that was the focus, is if I can get the economy growing and booming like it is right now, it takes care of so many other things that need to be taken care of in terms of public policy, because I came from the perspective that I was not going to raise taxes. I want Arizona to be the most competitive state in the nation. Nevada's at zero income taxes. Texas is at zero income taxes. The answer isn't coming in and saying we're going to raise taxes. It's growing the economy, which grows the tax base. And I came in 4 years ago, we had a $1 billion deficit. Today, we have the largest surplus in a decade in Arizona. We will close this legislative session with a $1 billion balance in our rainy day fund. It's just business principles.
The relationship with Governor Claudia Pavlovich, it's something that other states are really looking to emulate. And as a wise man once told me, relationships are the foundation of all accomplishment. What do you attribute this strong relationship? How has this developed?
Well, I would agree with the wise man's credo that they are the foundation, but I must give the credit to Claudia Pavlovich. It is very rare in elected office that you are working with someone else in good faith on every level. And I just had an instinct when I first met her before she was inaugurated. We went to inauguration. We invested in what we call the Arizona-Mexico Commission. It's something that was started 60 years ago by Paul Fannin, and it had kind of fallen off. There are real issues at the border, and there continue to be real issues at the border, but I thought of those issues as mutually exclusive from our trade relationship, meaning that leaders can talk about how do we deal with things like human trafficking, child sex trafficking, and drug cartels. How do we align the good guys, our law enforcement leaders, to work together to deal on these issues, which we must deal with? And then let's switch gears and talk about economic development, growth, prosperity, trade, trucking, transit, tourism. And we always separate, we never mixed those two discussions. They were two different discussions. There's so much that I can do. There's so much that Governor Pavlovich can do, and she's been a stand-up partner the entire way. I always say this began as a relationship that quickly turned into a partnership. Now it is a real friendship. Claudia came along with Sergio and stayed with my wife Angela and I last Christmas. She's been out to the last 2 or 3 Phoenix Opens. You're all welcome to come to the Phoenix Open in January. I'd also invite you to move your businesses to Arizona and relocate, but that's all up to you. Yeah.
Talk a little bit about some of these. He's serious. And if there are any state legislatures in the room, we need you to leave. Kidding. These MOUs, there have been several MOUs that you and Governor Pavlovich have worked hard. Tell us a little bit about some of these MOUs.
Well, these memorandums of understanding oftentimes are just seen as signing ceremonies or things that are symbolic. What we wanted to do is do some things that were, of real substance, things that would show the partnership and the relationship. So what we wanted to do, like I said, is to make the ports of entry open for the good guys. I mean, Arizona is the #1 leafy green exporter in the world. When you eat your lettuce in the winter, it comes from Yuma, Arizona, and this is a perishable product. And Mexico creates all these great fruits and vegetables that we enjoy at low prices here in the United States, and yet these lines at the port were 4, 5, 6, 7 hours. So we worked together on a mutual pre-clearance so that people could go through clearance only once. And we've reduced that wait time at the port in many places to under 45 minutes. So literally the trucks are just sailing through the ports, things like a safety corridor between Lukeville, which is our port, into Puerto Penasco, which is in Arizona we call Rocky Point. You can actually get to the beach in Mexico quicker than you can get to the beach in San Diego leaving Phoenix. And we consider that, our mutual beach. They're going to bring in cruise ships there, and we can partake in that. So it was this idea of partnership, not only on the trade side, but on the tourism side. And so much of our economy in Arizona is also a result of what happens at the border.
Fantastic. So my Simon and Garfunkel reference, I feel like I'm actually treating you like Art Garfunkel. He was sort of, for anyone that knows the history. So Peter, let's bring you in. Thank you for laughing. I very much appreciate that. Hi, how are you, Peter?
Well, I'm very flattered by that analogy, but I haven't got his hair.
I mean, if you want to grow it out, you certainly can. Give everyone a sense of what's happening at Lucid right now. Give us an overview.
Yeah. Well, first of all, great to be here. It really feels like home from home, the welcome I always receive here in Arizona and the state. Thank you, Governor. First of all, just a little bit of a background. I think the auto industry is going through some seismic changes. As an engineer, I thought I was born too late and I'd missed all the interesting stuff 100 years ago. Suddenly, a certain thing called a lithium-ion battery emerged, and it just blew the lid off everything. And I think what has been widely recognized now is that electric cars can actually be better than their gasoline counterpart. But the full potential has yet to be explored, and that's what we're doing. We're creating the EV 2.2 to really grasp that full potential. And what's unique about what we're doing is we do all the powertrain, all the technology in-house, but we miniaturize it. We miniaturize the motors, the transmission, the power electronics, the battery systems. And designing a car is like solving a 3D puzzle, like a jigsaw puzzle, but there's one extra complexity to it, in that each piece of that puzzle, you can control the shape of it, three-dimensionally, interactively with the big puzzle. That's what makes it so fascinating. So because we've got this miniaturized powertrain that we do all in-house, we managed to tease out more space in the car for the people. So we can have a more compact car on the outside, more maneuverable, more sporty to drive, more agile, more usable in a city, better turning circle, easier to park, with the ultimate future luxury, which is interior space and comfort. So we're really making a brand which is based upon future luxury and high technology. So that said, where are we now? Recently we secured significant funding from the Public Investment Fund from Saudi Arabia, and that really has been the key to unlock the door where we can start two critical activity paths. One, of course, is start building a factory here in Casa Grande between Phoenix and Tucson. And I'm so thrilled about that, and it's real. We've got the money. We're currently planning the minutiae of detail of that plant, the level of automation, the level of robotics, stage by stage, how we're going to build the car. Now, a lot of the car is going to come in component form from a range of world-class suppliers. But we're going to make the main body shell, painted body shell, here in Arizona. And we're going to make all the powertrain, all the elements of powertrain, which is our core technology, here in-house in Casa Grande, and of course assemble the car. And the vision is to make a world-class car, best car in the world, here in the state of Arizona.
Love it. Let's talk about Casa Grande for a moment. And one of the things that I think is such a beautiful nugget of this story, and through the great work of the Arizona Commerce Authority, is this notion that under your administration, Governor Doucey, you're focused on creating a thriving Arizona for all Arizonans. And so many people who don't know Arizona likely think of Phoenix and Tucson. Mm-hmm. And yet here we are with one of the most, if not the most advanced automobile manufacturer moving into Casa Grande, Arizona, which is not in Phoenix, it is not in Tucson, it's midway in between. It is going to have a tremendous impact in these what are more rural communities, which will soon not be so rural. Can you talk a little bit about
Sure,
locating there?
the idea of being the chief spokesperson and chief salesperson for Arizona is, I mean, I can be agnostic on where somebody locates. I just want them to locate in Arizona, and I want what's best for them. I mean, all I ask of the business leaders that come here is I want you to have wild success. If you have success, you'll grow, you'll hire people, and through that solves a lot of the issues I have in terms of leadership and governance. And I think you can see through Peter's passion. When I think I visited with you guys 3 times and flew to Northern California for these interviews. And I don't get to meet one-on-one with every business, of course, that comes to the state. But when there are exciting ideas, when we're in a competitive situation versus Nevada, Utah, Colorado, and Texas, and when I can add some value to the meeting, and I was just excited to see what they were doing in their headquarter office, the amount of talent and passion and capital investment around these models that they had. And it seemed to me at the time a real stretch for Arizona to win this competition. I think you were looking at 13 states and 60 markets. But I thought, let's put our best foot forward. Really, one thing I've learned is that no CEO locates anywhere that they or their spouse don't want to live. I mean, at the end of the day, a lot of people will tell you it's all about a spreadsheet, it's all about the numbers. I would really reject that. It's about quality of life, it's about relationships, and it's a good fit. And they asked a very interesting question in the 3rd interview, and I think it was Peter that asked it. He said, how's your relationship with Mexico? Because I think our reputation at that point was that it wasn't that good. And I thought, wow, what a softball coming my way. And I said, I want you to find out about our relationship with Mexico for yourself. And I'd like you to go visit Governor Claudia Pavlovich in Sonora and hear from her how the relationship is. And that was really, whether it was Phoenix, Tucson, if you do relocate to Phoenix or Tucson, you have to know about Flagstaff and the White Mountains, because that's where it's a perfect summer day. Every day you could have been skiing up until 2 weeks ago. We have so many different assets in the state of Arizona, but I've learned through my economic trade missions, many business leaders from around the world have been to Los Angeles, Chicago, or New York, but just in the last several years with the Super Bowl, the College Football National Championship, the NCAA Final Four, spring training, the Phoenix Open, we're bringing people here and they're seeing what a great place it is to live and what a great place it is to scale a business. They chose Casa Grande. That's in Pinal County. I couldn't be happier for Casa Grande and Pinal County, but that was up to them. They're the business leaders. I just want to create the business environment.
Peter, can you talk a little bit about this? I mean, it's a process likely, I'm sure some of us in the room have been exposed to, but I'm going to guess a majority haven't. When you're shopping around 13 states, 60 cities, or 60 potential locations of where to open a major manufacturing facility. From your standpoint, what's that process like?
Well, you can look at the sort of the heart and the mind here, and I couldn't agree with Governor Doucey more. There are all these tangible factors that you can go through on spreadsheets, like, is the seismic activity in the area? Is it a swamp? Are there low-flying aircraft? Is the drainage? Is the water? What are the commodities? Where's the nearest interstate? All these things. But, I'm sitting right next to a huge factor that swayed our decision, Governor Doucey, because, we're looking for that relationship with the state and, that camaraderie, that like-minded spirit of entrepreneurialism. And that's what we found here, a burning light of that right here with Governor Doucey in Arizona.
That's awesome.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Peter.
So over the past couple of days, and it's certainly not singular to only the past couple of days, but I've been a part of and have overheard some conversations around workforce. And we are at historically low unemployment rates. And recruiting is a challenge right now for every organization. It doesn't matter what industry you're in, what type of role, recruiting is tough right now. And Peter, I know one of the things that has been mission critical is a relationship that you have been developing and Lucid has been developing in partnership with Pima, Pinal and the Maricopa Community College districts, the
Yeah.
school districts. And that's a heck of a lot of foresight to begin that relationship building process, because as you bring these advanced manufacturing roles into Casa Grande, which is not a thriving big metropolis like Phoenix yet, that has to happen. So talk a little bit about that stakeholder recognition and that workforce readiness.
Yeah. No, I mean, building a car company, you have to be a chess player, and there are lots of parallel moves which have to take place, and they have to be synchronized. And that's what's really good, because Governor Doucey and his team totally get it. Let me give you an example. Already, there is a Lucid Motors manufacturing certificate course, which runs at Central Arizona College. And already, the first year have graduated. Unfortunately, we didn't get any of them because we weren't there with the funding. But great for those graduates, because more than 60 of them graduated, and I believe 100% received great jobs with other companies. So that's great for the state. So that was due to the sort of delay that we had in receiving the right funding. And that was a really great test of the relationship, Governor Doucey, that we were transparent with you. You kept the faith with us. And a lot of faith was required, but we got there in the end. But, I'm really thrilled by the level of support that we're getting in terms of educating the workforce, because we're going to make a super high-tech product, a world-class product. And it's as simple as that. In order to make a world-class product, you need world-class manufacturing talent, you need expertise. These are high-tech, highly skilled jobs. And, whatever level of automation you put into that plant, there is no substitute for the keen eye and craftsmanship of the people in that plant. And that's a really fascinating aspect, because, to fuse traditional skills, hand skills, and craftsmanship with the high-tech, the robotics, and fuse that in an appropriate way that is scalable, that we can scale in baby steps, is what it's all about. And that's why we're rolling out the factory in a sequence of steps. First step is to get, as you said earlier, 20,000 units. We're not going there and saying, we're going to spend $1 billion. That would be inappropriate and frankly irresponsible. We're judiciously investing and growing, and that initial 20,000, we can go to a 3-shift system to get 34,000. Then the next step will be phase 2. And let me give you an example. We're going to have about 750 new jobs just through that phase 1 through for the next 2 years to the end of 21. And by, mid-20s, 24, 25, we anticipate, we project 2,000 jobs here. And these are high-tech jobs.
You talk about, and in those examples you shared, is this demonstration of a patient approach. And the announcement of Lucid coming to Arizona happened, I think, back in late 2016.
Yes.
So here we are in Q2 of 2019, and things haven't happened yet, right? Balancing the needs of all of the different stakeholders and the constituents and keeping the excitement high while also paying close attention to the enormity of the project, the importance of taking a patient approach. I'm curious, from both of your perspectives, with the groups that you are working with that have high hopes, high expectations around this, that process of keeping excitement high while also demonstrating that long-term vision, that long-term focus and patient approach, so that you don't rush something that ends up completely not creating anywhere near the value that it could.
So I would say from my perspective, there's a clinical part of it that, I have a role, I have a responsibility. Now, we've built a relationship, and obviously we have a chemistry, but this came over time. I mean, I was in this room pitching. There were people out in the foyer that were coming in after me. I mean, I had no idea if this was going to come. I just wanted to put our best foot forward, and we've had a lot of positive interactions, and I was excited by their management team. They had a vision and a dream and passion, and I knew this would be a huge win for our state. But at the end of the day, what I was able to commit to them was no special favors or special treatment. I committed that government will not pull the rug out from underneath you. We won't hike your taxes. We won't put unnecessary regulations. We will remove these obstacles. I always get a kick out during the election cycle when people are running for office and they're talking about all the jobs they're going to create as politicians. Well, I know as an entrepreneur, politicians don't create any jobs. Zero. Peter and Lucid and risk takers create these jobs. Now, what a governor can create is an environment in which entrepreneurs can thrive. So I don't know if that was persuasive with them. I do think that message, because we're in my second state of the state, I was able to say I'd be remiss if I didn't thank my partner in growing Arizona's economy. And that's been California Governor Jerry Brown. Because the way taxes are continually increasing, regulations are continually increasing. In Arizona, I said, let's find out, I know we can lower taxes every year. How many regulations do we have? As governor, it took us about 13 months to cull together all the regulations. There's 11,000 regulations. We identified every one of them. We've removed 1,098, eliminated them, gotten rid of them. They don't protect public health or public safety. They protected some other business special interest. And that's been the equivalent of a $79 million tax cut without costing our general fund $1. So that type of governance is possible.
One of the things that we were talking about before we came out, we were talking about capitalism. We were having an engaging conversation around this amazing system, and that there are people who are losing faith in this system. And in small groups here, we've often talked about that this conscious capitalism movement is absolutely the way forward, because what it does is the same way an organization, a company, will hire and fire people based upon a value set. That's what conscious capitalism is. It's a value set. It's a way of practicing this unbelievable system of capitalism. Love to hear from both your perspectives in the circles you run in, what you're hearing about the state of capitalism, where we're headed, what you're excited about, and also perhaps what you worry about.
Well, I am concerned. I'm thrilled when I come into a room like this and I hear John Mackey talk and Adam Goodman talk and how this is spreading. This is the value system that I was raised in. This is the value system that I built Cold Stone Creamery with. I do think this idea we were talking about, I get to interview lawyers who want to go onto the Supreme Court. And when you're steeped in the law, the higher purpose is justice. And I always ask these men and women in the interview, what books have influenced your life? And the number one book that they answer with is To Kill a Mockingbird. They have a vision of Atticus Finch as the ultimate justice provider. Doctors, a higher purpose of health and healing. To me, if you were to say to Americans, who's the prototypical business person in your mind? I have a fear that they could pick a Gordon Gekko.
Yeah.
Because the media and the bad actors, and there have been bad actors, they're few and they're rare, but they've gotten a tremendous amount of attention, Enron and WorldCom. And I think if you talk about the higher purpose in business, in capitalism, in the marketplace, it's prosperity, and it's quality of life, and it's this availability to access all these other things, and we need to do a better job of communicating that. Peggy Noonan wrote a great article in the Wall Street Journal a few years ago, and she said, people that are my age and older, we believe in the marketplace because we have seen it work. We saw the Berlin Wall come tumbling down and freedom expand all over the world. She said people that are 25 or under, they saw capitalism come down in 2008. They saw the government go and rescue the banks and AIG. They have student debt. They're working in jobs where they're not being able to maximize their degrees. They don't believe. The gift of this economy right now is we have more jobs available than we have people to fill them. we can not only bring people into the workforce so that they can reach their higher purpose in life, but we need to help them understand and model this idea of values-based conscious capitalism so that we can get out of this negative space when we're talking about recreating systems that have failed all over the world, and would do the same here. We've got a great system here. We need to tend to it, and I think this group may be the leading group in the tip of the spear in recreating that value set.
Thank you. Peter, I want to talk about, we were engaging in a brief conversation about purpose and about higher purpose, and what Lucid is doing is literally changing the world.
Yeah, exactly. And this resonates with me in so many ways. You know, just from the modeling techniques which we use, the computational techniques to enhance the safety of the car, I'm always conscious of cars can do nasty things to people. And we can save lives that way. Through to the way our team is and our people are rewarded. We're all stakeholders in Lucid Motors. Everyone who joins the company is a shareholder, quite literally, in our company. So we build the team together, we build the business together. And, you know, what better way of fulfilling one's career ambition and being financially rewarded than to do something which is of wholesome good for not just this generation, but future generations. I really believe we have a significant global warming problem, and it's here and now. Whether you believe with me with that comment or not, we're not trying to thrust electric cars down people's throat with an inferior product because everyone wants to be altruistic towards the environment. The harsh reality is electric cars are inherently superior, and they're going to get a lot better, and we're going to prove that. So actually, the market will decide, and the consequence is for the good of the environment. Now, I know there's a lot of naysayers, and they'll say, well, it depends where you generate your electricity. If there's a dirty, coal-burning power station, that's not very environmentally conscious. But the reality is that what we're doing, and we're a really small company, but the impact we can have is much greater because we can act as a catalyst for change, a catalyst to accelerate the rest of the industry to move towards electric. When the rest of the industry sees the advances we've made, it'll be a further wake-up call for a real progressive change right across the globe towards sustainable mobility. And that demand for energy will also serve as a catalyst for the generation of energy. We can generate the electricity from solar, wind, wave. I mean, Arizona solar, it's the perfect place, Governor. This is what we need. And to link that to the car. And the other thing we can do with our cars is we can use the car not just to charge from the grid, but with a two-way charger to charge back to the grid. So actually, we can use enough cars as energy storage units. Rather than have a separate unit, you can actually use the car, any surplus energy, and you can balance the grid so you could generate the electricity during the day and store it in the car, charge the car up with the solar farm, and then you drive around in the evening because there's enough surplus, and even power your home for breakfast from the car. So there is a world of wonderful opportunities, and what we're doing is progressing this technology to make it available, and I really think that's what drives me. It's more than a job, it's a mission to benefit this generation and future generations.
I'm just curious, by a show of hands, how many folks in the room have a hybrid or an electric-powered vehicle?
Wow.
Wow, you're in good company.
It's happening.
It is happening.
Yeah. I'm surprised.
So, what do we have to look forward to from Lucid over the years ahead?
Well, the first product is Lucid Air.
Yep.
It's a flexible platform. We will make at least one other model off that platform, and we'll make that here in Arizona as well. And who knows? I mean, we're not a one-trick pony. We're starting with a relatively high-end product, north of $100,000. We need that because the business model makes eminently sound sense for a small company. But the vision for the future is to create a range of beguiling products, world-class products, which really move the envelope to more and more advanced. I mean, we're on EV 2.0. I want to do EV 3.0 in 5 or 6 years' time, and I want to do that with Lucid.
Well, gentlemen, this is just such a treat to have both of you here. And Governor Doucey, your leadership here in the state of Arizona has been nothing short of phenomenal in creating just an unbelievable business-friendly environment that actually created the conditions for us to have the largest gathering of conscious capitalists anywhere in the world happening right here in our backyard. So thank you for that. Peter, congratulations on your nod to CEO, again, as a result of you being here. Make sure the board remembers that. And ladies and gentlemen, Governor Doug Doucey and Peter Rawlinson.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, Peter.